those who have religion and those who have no religion, also maintains a similar belief. Whatever it may be, whether it is true or not, we have to do something. Otherwise, we cannot satisfy. We feel that we have not done our duties. Because of that, we also maintain insecurity feeling. That insecurity feeling creates fear and suspicion. These are two enemies in our mind. Fear and suspicion can create enormous problem, internal, external, physical and mental. Fear and suspicion. That is why we need something or to perform something to avoid this fear and suspicion. Of course, those who have studied deep aspect of religion, philosophy, psychology, science and other subjects can define and analyze and interpret in various ways. But 95% or more than that still maintain this belief that there are certain living beings, seen or unseen, known or unknown, whom we regard as our friends or enemies. Some are our friends, others are enemies. Do you know, every time when we recite few verses to bless all our devotees, we never forget to recite these few words. Nakhatta yakha bhutanam papagraha. There are 4 words here. Nakhatta yakha bhuta papagraha. And still, I think many of our devotees are not familiar with these words. And why do we recite all these things? Or in the Buddha's teaching also, we can find these words. Nakhatta means stars, planets. Planetary system influence the other planets, galaxies. Today they have realized there are thousands of suns and moons, but we can see only one sun and one moon. But all these planets governed by different solar system, planets. Now this area is governed by the sun. Therefore we say this is a solar system. So many of those planets are under or governed or controlled, influenced by the sun. Now let us take moon. There is no moonlight if there is no sun. Sunlight reflects through the moon. So at night time we can see the brightness again. No one can deny this. But we do not know how these planets, suns and moons and so many other planets influence this earth, elements, living things, plants and life and human body and the brain and elements. So changes take place from time to time due to the influence of certain planet. It is true. We cannot deny that. Then, what is the Buddha's advice? The Buddha says, if you know how to develop and strengthen your mental energy, instead of worshipping and praying to those planets. Remember, this is what the Buddha says. Many people still worship because they know they were influenced by the planet. If not, they are living here on this earth because of the sun. If there is no sun, no living beings here. Because of that we worship. There is nothing wrong. But the Buddha's advice is simply by worshipping or praying, you won't be able to get rid of your problems. But if you know how to cultivate, strengthen, develop, or understand, and then you can avoid, you can minimize, you can reduce many of those so-called misfortune, sicknesses and bad luck. So his advice is to develop the mind. Even some other religions could not accept or believe that it is true. But later, one of the well-known Christian saint, St. Thomas Aquinas, has mentioned planets can influence our physical body. It is true. But planet cannot influence our mind. He is right. The Buddha has said this 2,500 years ago. But recently they realized this. That is why I told you just now, planets can influence all the elements, brain cells, fluid, blood, but not the mind. Of course, there are some people who talk rubbish, especially on full moon days. It's not that their minds were affected. Brain cells in that brain cannot balance. Because of the imbalanced brain cells, they experience the difficulty of maintaining sense of reasoning. So what they say or what they try to explain, there's no connection, no meaning because of the imbalance. So the brain is responsible for that. Brain is influenced by the moon, fluid in the brain. So, when we try to console, to calm this mind by doing some chanting or meditations or some recitals, at that time we can avoid tension and fear. This is the only way how we can strengthen the mind. If we can reduce fear, tension or suspicion from our mind, the mind becomes very, very dynamic force. Why small children always cry? Why they are scared of so many things? Because of fear. But when they grow, they don't behave like that. So still we behave like small children because of that fear. So the main purpose of the Buddha's teaching is to reduce this fear from our mind. Not to worship others just because of this fear. So the influence that created some sort of disturbances in our mind can be avoided by maintaining calmness in our mind. So religion is the only solution. That is why they like to attend blessing services, chantings and meditations and various religious activities where they can maintain some sort of calmness in their mind. And then the second word is yakka. In English we use the word devil. Yakka. They are invisible to our naked eyes, supposed to be very fierce, dangerous, harmful, and always disturb us. This belief is there. There are some Buddhist stories also, how some of these yakkas or evil forces disturb the disciples or the monks of the Buddha. There are some stories. When you read Dhammapada stories also you can see. So this belief was there for thousands of years ago, before many of those religions come into existence. And religions also did not deny or never rejected at once this belief. But the Buddha has given this advice. Even those so-called fierce, dangerous, harmful devil or yakkas, without worshipping or offering to them. The traditional belief was worshipping and offering. The Buddha did not recommend this. His method is by radiating your metta, your kindness, your compassion towards them, and the soothing feeling that you generate, you transmit, you radiate from your mind, calm those evil forces also. After that, they become powerless to harm you, disturb you. This is the method. Now, katta yakka. Then the third word is bhuta. There is another word. Here, just now we mentioned hungry ghost. They belong to that group. There are four kinds of bhutas, or spirits, pretas. There are many words. Some are very unfortunate, miserable. Some are suffering from their birth up to the end of their life, every minute. Suffering and suffering and suffering. Some others are very jealous and fierce, also unfortunate. Some others are depending or waiting some sort of support from living beings. That means relatives and friends. Now you can understand. All those spirit and ghosts cannot receive from their relatives. Whatever relatives offer, they are not in a position to receive. They are very unfortunate. But one particular group depend on others. That is why we do some offerings, we perform some meritorious deeds, we remember them, we radiate our kindness towards them, we transfer the merits towards them, because they need, they are waiting. So when we neglect our duties, there are many incidents, certain indication or warning or disturbances, if not appear in dreams, to tell you that they need something. They belong to that particular group. So what we do when we recite sutras or chanting, we radiate our kindness, compassion towards them, towards those departed persons. Now why do people invite the monks when someone passed away? It's not only a traditional practice, there is a meaning. Two reasons. If the departed person, the belief that departed person remain for a certain period in searching here and there is a belief, the Buddha's teaching never support that belief. That is our belief, not the Buddha's belief. So immediately after death, rebirth means conception. Either humans or animals or ghost or spirit or deva, whatever it may be, must take place, cannot remain in between. There is no intermediate states to remain. So when we recite, by radiating our kindness towards them, our compassion towards them, they will be benefited, they will be happy, and their worries and miseries also reduce. So we are supporting the departed ones. On the other hand, all those family members at home are in fear. At that time they are willing to do anything, spend any amount for their protection. Because some or many people believe that these departed people may disturb us if we do not fulfill our duties. So when we perform some religious service, we give them confidence that they are protected. Now, departed ones never harm them, never disturb them. To create this belief in their mind, by spending millions of dollars also without depending on religion, you cannot. Your religion is very important, whatever religion it may be. To create that belief, that confidence in your mind. So there are various kinds of invisible living beings. They are unfortunate because they have not accumulated enough good karma to be born as human beings or devas, but since they have not committed very bad, very heavy sins or bad karmas, to suffer rebirth take place as some sort of spirit form. They are living beings. Remain there for a certain period. From there again another rebirth take place. And that is how the cycle of birth and death take place. Then last one, Nakhatta Yakha Bhutan Papaggaha. Again we come back to the bad stars. You know, occasionally a very peculiar type of a star appear in the sky with a very big tail. What do you call it? Comet. Very big tail. Everybody thinks that this is a very bad omen, very bad luck. This can create lot of trouble, problem, war and fire and flood and volcanic eruptions and so many things. This is an indication. When you study the history, say about 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, in India, Middle East, China, how they could manage to predict certain incident, unfortunate or fortunate. I am watching the planetary system, stars, counting their movement. They could manage to predict. There was no any other system at that time for them to understand what is happening here on this earth. There are many Jataka stories, the previous birth stories of the Buddha, for us to understand how they could manage to find out even the death of a ruler of a kingdom, how they have predicted by observing the planet or the stars. Because they have seen, even today also astronomers can explain how certain planets appear visible. Some are invisible. Some are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and disappear. Others are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and again disappear. That's what is happening. But those who study these things very carefully know that how they indicate certain occurrences here. We cannot deny this. So here, in our recitals for blessing, we mention this. Nakhatta Yakha Bhutanam Papaggaha. If any misfortune be upon you, may you be free from such misfortune. That is called blessing. So this belief that the hungry ghost will come out, so we must do something. Of course, some people do their duties in a very crude form, primitive man's way of performing certain rites and rituals. Some others very cultured way. Some people perform their duties in religious way. It depends how far we can understand things. So this chanting, every evening chanting is very important, especially during this period, for them to maintain peace in their mind, hopes and to avoid that fear. If not, always something may happen to them. Somebody may disturb them. So that confidence they can develop in their mind through religion. There is no any other method. Now that is the meaning of this religious service in memory of our departed ones, to fulfill certain duties or obligations for their welfare as well as for our own benefit or our own protection. I still got time. This is Friday. Last few Fridays I have explained certain religious symbols, significance of religious symbols. First day I have explained the gesture or the posture of the Buddha statue, about 10, like this and this and this and this, and I have explained already. And next Friday, yes, after that I explain the meaning of the wheel, Dharma Chakra, the wheel of the law, and why there are 4 and 6 and 8 and 12 and 16 and 32. So today I promise to explain the significance of this pagoda. Pagoda is not a Pali or Sanskrit word. I heard it is a Portuguese word. Portuguese word is pagote. Pagote. Pagote means doom. So during the Portuguese period, in this part of the world, we have learned this word. So today we use this word, pagoda. But Pali and Sanskrit word, chaitya. Chaitya is the Pali word. Chaitya is the Sanskrit word. There is another Pali word called thupa. Sanskrit word astupa. Thupa, astupa. Chaitya or Chaitya. When you read Mahaparinibbana Sutra, the last discourse of the Buddha, there in that sutra you can see the word used by the Buddha, Chaitya. C-E or C-H-E, either way you can write, Chaitya. Before his passing away, his disciples, especially Venerable Ananda, who very closely associated with the Buddha, came and asked what to do with his dead body. The Buddha had to give all the necessary instruction. Then he told, after my passing away, you had to wrap my body with piece of cloth, because those days they never made coffin. Even today in India, many people never make coffin. They use the word, it is the Christian coffin. If anybody used a coffin in India, they say it's a Christian. They are the one who introduced this at that time. Before that, they just wrap and carry and burn. So after 3 days' time, it's a long story, they could not cremate within 3 days. They had to wait for how many days? 1 week. Because they could not carry. They tried and tried, the kings and ministers and army, navy also tried, could not. They had to wait for 1 week. Then he advised, after cremating or burning, collect all the ashes, bones, enshrine or bury then erect a chaitya on that spot. Now this advice was given by the Buddha, you can see in Mahaparinibbana Sutra. He has given the reason why. In time to come, those who have not seen the Buddha gain some sort of inspirations and devotions and confidence. Having seen this pagoda, Chaitya, this is the place where our masters, our teachers, or our religious teachers' ashes or the bones were buried. Having seen this pagoda, Chaitya, this is the place where our masters, our teachers, or our religious teachers' ashes or the bones were buried, so that they can recall or remember the Buddha very easily. And the feeling or the inspiration that they gain at that time, we cannot create when there is no such object. I can give a simple example. Supposing one of our family members passed away when we were away, somewhere else. So we get the message, either telephone call or telegram, that so and so passed away. Few people may cry at that time, and they receive the telephone call or the telegram. But others say, I received a telegram, my father passed away, I had to go there. That's all. So as soon as he enters into that house, they happen to see the dead body, then he starts to cry. This clearly shows that how that object influences the mind to arouse, it is emotion. Crying and laughing both we express to indicate our emotion. That's why the Buddhas and Arahantas never cry and never laugh, just like us, because they have no such emotion. The whole world may die, the Buddha or Arahantas never cry. Don't think that they are very cruel. They cannot cry because no emotion. Because they know why they die. We cry because we do not know why they die. So, now that is the origin. But this is not the Buddhist discovery. When you refer to every existing religion in this world, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, Christianity, Islam, any other ism, if there is some sort of symbol originated from one structure, later they have changed the architecture according to their culture, different shape. Now let us take a Muslim mosque. Go and see. You cannot see very much difference, only slight difference here, and this dome is the same, and here also you can see. Let us take a church. Of course, modern church, they have different shape, but ancient churches. Remove this part from here and from here, and the shape goes up to like this, originated from one spot. And let us take a Hindu kovil. Some decorations you can see here and there, same origin. When you look at Sikh temple, same. Jaina temples in India, the same. And the Buddhist pagoda, Chaitya, also the same. Then what is the meaning? Where is the chalk? No chalk here. Shape was originated, not created or introduced by Buddhists. Before all these religions come into existence, people had a belief, after our death, the elements, they realized there are 4 elements, these 4 elements again absorb with the same existing element. That is the end of our life. They knew only that much. And today there are many in this world who believe that after our death, the elements again absorb into the element, that is the end of our life. To indicate that belief, they have erected this pagoda. There are 4 stages. This one, this is one stage. Up to here, one stage. Up to here, another stage. Up to here, another stage. Then upward. 4 stages. After that, they have added all sorts of decorations to beautify. But the real meaning is Pathavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, 4 elements. How our physical body absorb or mix up with the existing elements after our death. This is Pathavi. Pathavi means earth, solid, solidity. We introduce this as earth. So the solidity element and turn into energies again absorb into existing solidity after our death. Then here, the fluidity, the water always comes to the surface above. So the waters come up and remains as fluid, and this fluid and evaporate, mix up with the existing fluid. Indicate this as bubble. This is a bubble, water bubble, this one. This one also later they have introduced different shape. Ghantakara, Ghatakara, Bubbulakara, Dhanyakara, 4 kinds of pagodas. One is like a bubble, round. This one. Another one is like a bell, the shape of a bell, like this. You can see many pagodas. Another one is like a heap of a rice, like this. Another one is like a pot. If you study one by one, you can see belong to one of this group. Whatever it may be, this one indicates the fluidity in our body. Then this is a square here, this one. When solidity and fluidity settle down here, the heat, the temperature goes up. So the existing temperature of the heat in our body mix up with the heat, goes up. Now remain only one element, What is that? Air. Air goes up. That is the end of our life. Divided into 4 elements, 4 energies. So, after our death, either burial or cremation, what they do, they erect this kind of dome, pagoda. But those days they have done this only for great people, like kings or emperors or religious people, or those who have done some great service to the nation or the country, to remember them, to honor them. They have erected this pagoda. This is the significance of this pagoda. So what we do today, as one of the religious symbols, there are 3 main objects as religious objects for us to venerate. The Buddha image, or this Chaitya or pagoda, and the Bodhi tree. These are the 3 main religious objects for us to venerate. So we find out the relics and enshrine valuable things in this part of the pagoda. Here, certain things, very solid things. Here in this part, valuable thing, gold and diamonds and all sorts of things, they bury. When you dig all these ancient pagodas, you can see so many coins. Then here, this part they reserve for religious objects, relics, or the images. If they cannot find out the relics, bodily relics, they enshrine small Buddha images here. And then this will become a religious object. Otherwise, there is no religious significance, only natural indication of our way of life. So today, we worship and respect this as a religious object because we enshrine the relic. If not the Buddha, if the Arahantas or holy religious man's ashes or relics, we enshrine here and respect. And another belief, when we erected pagodas, after enshrining the relics, the devas around that area also maintain some sort of peace and create religious atmosphere, and area is protected. Now this is the significance of pagoda. 9 o'clock. Series of questions. The next one is Bodhi tree. Do you want me to stop or for the next Friday or continue? What do you think? I think better to go home early today. So next Friday, so I'll explain the significance of not only Bodhi tree. What is our relationship between plant life and human life? How we can talk to the plant and how plant talk to us. How we influence the plant life and how plant can influence us. So next Friday. Okay?